Morning. It's Saturday, May 21st, and lately it seems all I've been talking about is terrible things that happen in this country. And this is another terrible thing. And I'm going to talk a little bit today, maybe more than a little bit, about the student loan situation in this country and the crisis that we have come to, and about Joe Biden wanting to forgive a lot of student loan money. And the issue is, why did we get ourselves into this mess in the first place? Because it started in 1965 because Lyndon Johnson wanted everybody to get an education. Because he was a poor guy living in poverty as a child, and when he grew up he was able to go to a state college in Texas, and that's what sent him on the way to ending up as President of the United States. And he wanted everybody to have that opportunity, and he felt that along with the GI Bill, we could have a loan program that supported people who wanted to go to college but really couldn't afford it. And I don't think anybody disagreed with that as a good idea. I think the problem is the way they set it up. So Johnson created something called the Higher Education Act. It was the main student loan program. And basically, he said that everyone who wanted to go to college and needed help going to college would have access to student loans. So there was no parameters about repayment involved in this thing at the beginning. You didn't have to qualify. You didn't have to qualify monetarily, and you didn't have to qualify academically. If you were of college age, you could get a loan. And Johnson wanted the banks to give these loans out. But the banks said, we're not giving out loans to people if we can't get some repayment. We have to make a basic profit, so there has to be some interest rate associated with these loans so that we can turn a profit. Otherwise, we're not going to give these loans out. And this was a time in the late 60s and early 70s when there was an inflationary environment. So when everybody looked at the banks and everybody realizes that they are not a not-for-profit organization, and so the banks got into the student loan business. And a short time later, a couple of years perhaps, Congress created Sallie Mae, which was a so-called quasi-public agency. It really was a for-profit company that was overseen by Congress. And it was essentially the vehicle where the Treasury Department infused Sallie Mae with taxpayer money. And then Sallie Mae gave that money to the banks and schools to make student loans. And that's when this higher education loan business really took off and became a big profit deal. And who do you think were shareholders in the Sallie Mae business? Most of Sallie Mae's shareholders were colleges and banks, so they both stood to make money on the student loan business. And the colleges benefited from this new student loan system in two ways. Their students had access to the loans, which made it easier for colleges to raise their prices on the students. And they got direct profits every time that happened. So in the 80s, the system really ramped up and the profits became intertwined, as they say, with higher education. So we, the government and business and colleges, created this monster of a student loan environment. And there were no qualifications for the students. And there also were no qualifications required of the colleges. You could be a rinky-dink school that didn't offer much and still participate in this program, as well as being an Ivy League school. So there were many colleges that aren't worth their weight involved in this program. And in the 80s, when technology really took off, more and more students wanted to go to college and get into it. And that's when these loan programs really took off also. And in the 90s, when Bill Clinton took office, he recognized the fact that the banks were making a lot of money on this program, and he decided that he wanted the government to give the money directly to the students without having the banks and Sallie Mae in the middle. But of course the banks fought hard, and I am sure that they paid a lot of campaign funding to a lot of people in Congress to keep a hold on Sallie Mae. And so we ended up with two different programs running the loans for the students. We have a direct government to student loan program, and then we still have Sallie Mae and the banks lending money. And because of this dual system, the colleges realized that they should set up a department of financial advisors. And so when students came to them and asked how they could possibly pay the tuition, more often than not, the college would recommend the Sallie Mae system because they were getting a cut of those profits. So right now in this country, there's $1.7 trillion in student debt. And they're talking about canceling some of the repayments of this debt. But they're talking about small amounts, a couple of $1 billion here and a couple of $1 billion there. But what they need to do is reconstruct the way that students get this money. And they should stop every college from being available to give out student loans. They should have some qualification requirements on both ends. And the student interest rates should not be higher, say, than the mortgage rate. Or maybe it should be pegged to the amount of interest that the banks are paying people. So if you leave your money in a bank and you get 0.0005% interest, maybe that's the interest rate that should be applied to student loans. But right now we have $1.7 trillion and it's expected to be paid back. Most of it is expected to be paid back. That means when a child goes to college and they go and they have to borrow money, it may mean that for their entire working career they will be paying off that loan. So then many will say, screw it, why do I have to go to college? Why don't I take the easy way out, become a plumber or an electrician or something, just go to a trade school for a year or two, or work part-time and go to school at night, without a student loan. In any event, the student loan problem is a major problem in this country, and I see no easy way out of the repayment process. That's where we stand this morning. Bye.